Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to True Crime and Justice. Did you all have a nice weekend? Yesterday was nice. It was nice yesterday. And then the rain come again. And everyone's been saying, oh, well, we're heading for this blistering heat wave and all this. I thought we was told that like months ago. When? Right? Then I've just heard again tonight. I was watching another channel. I don't know when it was made, yesterday or something. It said, make the most of the 4 days, the summer we've got coming. The 4 days of it. I thought, that's fucking right. 4 days. If you blink, you miss it. Because I said to do I said, I really need to get on with that gardening out the back. I said, but I can't do it when it's wet. You know what I mean? Because the cleaning up then makes hard work when you're trying to clean it up if it's all wet. So I want to go out there today to do it. But I've been preoccupied working on my files today. I wanted to get it finished. And I have got it finished. Just some tweaks I'll need to still do on it. But I've gone through and every word I've seen that I know that I can't say on YouTube. I know I can say them on X. But on YouTube I can't. And that is why certain letters, certain words are blanked out. Because it's not that they have to be blanked out. They don't have to be blanked out. But if they're not blanked out, I will say the word. So if they're blanked out, I'll just go such blank, such blank, 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 such. You know what I mean? If I see the word, then I say it because that's just my loose tongue. If I see something, I say it. So that's why it's blanked out for when I pull these files up. I went to call my cats in tonight. And Toby's sitting out in the back garden, so he's coming. Took him a little while to jump up on the windsill because he knew once he's in. Bobby wasn't coming. So I've come in the living room, and who did I see walking past the house? Bobby. So I went out the front door and said, Bobby, he went, oh, and come running in. I went, yeah, get your backside in here. Trying to sneak out a bit longer, wasn't you, Bobby? He's a little fecker. And he's the one in the morning now who's waking me up about at 7 o'clock. Silly hour for your mama. That's too early. 9 o'clock, yeah. 7 o'clock, no. But, so, it woke me up about 7, so about half 7, I needed the bathroom. So I went to the bathroom, come in, opened my blinds, went back to bed for about half an hour. Just to fully wake up. Because I wasn't fully awake, and I knew if I stayed up, I'd probably hurt myself by bumping into something or tripping over something because I'm fully awake. So I thought, no, I'm going back to my bed. I'll lie there, just wake up slowly and surely. And I have. So, anyway, we're on part 2 tonight of The Rat Gang Enquiry by Rupert Lowe. And, oh, what a day we've had today. Yes, everyone in England, Wales, Scotland, Ireland. I hope you all gave a cheer when you heard that news today. Keir Starmer has resigned. Yes. Oh, that's liver-lilied snake has resigned. But who we got coming? Counting Andy Burnham. That's who's going to go for Prime Minister, for the position as Prime Minister. And he's the same as Keir Starmer. Just a different accent. Right? And one thing I noticed when they're doing the by-election the other night, and we was watching it, I was speaking to some reform people, and they said, and this is the honest God truth, if it was a major election, right, I'd vote for Restore Great Britain. Or Restore UK, whichever it is, I can't know. I think it's Restore Great Britain, right? And they said, so why don't you vote for him tonight? They said, because we want Keir Starmer out. So we're going with reform because they've got a better chance of getting him out by getting more votes and Restore Britain. And so I thought, well, that's nice to know in one way that, and we've all said this, they will vote for reform in these smaller little by-elections if they're going up against a Labour person. They'll vote for reform, right? And but we've all said if it comes to the main elections, they will vote Restore. And you got Restore going, Reform going, we won't lose no votes when it comes to the main elections because they are loyal to us. No, they're not. They are not. They will go with Restore when the time comes. They will vote for Restore because he's the only one who has openly said it's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard. Right? But we get our country back. We will get our country back. And I believe him when he says about, it can't get any harder than what it already is. Right? Money-wise, and all that, like taxes and bills and heating and electric and everything. It can't get any harder than what it already is. It can only get better. But with Labour, that would have us all freezing our fecking beds on the coldest nights going, if they could. But I was watching it today and he started the little, and he started the little fake tears. Aaron, oh, you little livid snake, are you wussing out here? Are you crying? Be a man. You know what I mean? This is the Prime Minister we had. It's been an honour. Oh, shut the fuck up. So I was quite pleased to hear that this morning. I went, yes. But now we've got Andy Burnham. But they're on about everyone is calling for what they call a snap election, where we vote again for a new Prime Minister, where the people vote. Like at the moment, it's in-house voting for Labour Party members. They're the ones who vote who they want as Prime Minister to run their party. But we didn't vote for him. So we feel we should have a snap election now. Yeah. But is Restore ready for a snap election? They haven't got people in the areas they need to get them in, like Scotland. They need the next 2 years or so, 2, 3 years, to get everything in place. Sorry about that, if you can hear my cat. They can't do a snap election at the moment. We still won't get in. They've got no one up in Scotland. And I've actually gone on his page. I said, I will not vote until there is someone or people up in Scotland, like Glasgow area, Dundee, Aberdeen. You know what I mean? All those areas. You need people in those areas. Because believe me, you get them. You get the votes. Because no one wants SNP no more. No one wants Labour. And how the hell they got fucking Conservative in the other night as well? I think it was Aberdeen. Well, yeah, I can see why. Because they're a bunch of dozy twats up there, I swear to God. But Conservatives got up in there in that by-election there. But would they win the main election? I don't think so. But then again, you never know, they could do. Anyway, we're going to just pull up share our screen now so we can have a look. Now, we did read one testimony the other day. One. Just one out of quite a few. So we're going to read some testimonies, okay? Oh, that's Chloe. Now we've seen Chloe. That's it. Okay, come back up here. I have as well added my own little words, my own opinions onto it as well. And all the words are blacked out as much as I can. If you hover over it, if you get the link, which I'll put on the upload, it was put on the last time, right? Or just hover over the link and it'll tell you the word, right? In some cases, you can still see what the word is. By the time I finish, you won't be able to. So just hover over it and it'll tell you the word. So let's check, see what's going on in my. That's it. My baby's come to sit by me. I'm sitting on the sofa again. Normally, when I sit on the sofa, he'll sit in my chair. But he's in by his mama tonight. Is Bobby going on the bed then? Bobby's probably on the bed. Anyway, so let's get this in the right place because this is Fiona. I think this. Oh, let's soon find out. Yeah, Chloe was the first one. Yeah, the first one we read. Yeah. Now, oh God's sake, just took my eyes off the screen for a second. I am going to put this up. We are an 18 plus channel. If you're not 18, please leave the channel now. Trigger warning as well. Right? This is an adult only channel. Viewer discretion advised. So, hold on. I'm trying to get comfy. Got something on my TV about that little boy in Australia that went missing. Shame. Oh, Bobby must have been on the pot. Do you know my cat, Bobby? He'll go outside. But he's a good cat. Because if anyone comes in and goes, your cat Bobby keeps pooping in my garden, I'll go, no, it's not my cat. Because Bobby will come in every time, go in his cat litter tray. Every time, so I have to keep cleaning it out. Go in the fields at the back. You got them fields at the back where you can dig and bury it all you want. Right? So, let's just alter this because I don't like the square, I like the round. Just go a little bit bigger. Let's see about taking me up there. Yeah, that better. I think. Yeah. So, but some more testimonies given tonight. So this is triggering, and as I've always said, if it's too much, just walk away. You can come back to it another time, do it a bit at a time. Right? If it gets too much, just walk away. Do not think I've got to watch this. No. Your own health and sanity comes first, okay? I don't know what it is with me, but I've read this now several times because I've been going through it to mark it out and things like that. And first time, I must be a hard cow. Hard feckin' bitch of a cow. Because the first time I read it, it's like I was like, "Oh my god, no way, oh my lord." Second time, it's like, "Really?" Right? Third time, I've gone through it and I'm reading it, I'm like a blubbering wreck. I went, "What the feck?" I'd expect that the first time of reading it. Not the you know what I mean? And I thought, first time I read it, it was like, "Oh my god, no way could this be true," you know what I mean? Then the second time I said, "Yeah, yeah, whatever," sort of thing. I was so used to seeing the words and whatever. But then when I read it again, because I was going through to make sure it's all black and white properly, which it isn't, but it will be, because I haven't got a black mark. I've only got the darkest colour I've got is red. So I have to use red and go over it several times. So let's go to my chat. And what I'll do, I'll open up my phone and open up this on my phone. So then if I see any messages come through, I'll get to them. Because when I'm reading this, I don't see my back office. I've got a separate window, right? So I don't see what is being said in chat. But if I open it up, then I'll get to see what is being said. I'll just turn the volume down now. Oh, come on. I hate my phone when it keeps flipping round to the side. Really does my head in. Right, I've got my chat open. So if anyone comes in chat while I'm reading this, I'll see it then. Alright, I've got to go out of it. Right. This is Fiona and this isn't her real name either. None of the names are the true names. Fiona. Fiona grew up in a highly blank, and all I'll say is A. Highly A household. Marked by TV. Severe emotional A. And repeated suicide attempts by her mother, which Fiona witnessed. Despite exceptional academic ability, she developed serious mental health issues, self-harm behaviours and suicide ideation from a young age. Now, I wonder where she got that all from. You know what I mean? From a young age. She got that off her mum because that's all she saw. Right? Hold on, I've just got to time blank a bit more. Right, alright. No, I'll leave. I'll come back and tidy it all up later. So then it goes on. As you can see, I've put my own little Opinions on the side. After escalating A and failed disclosures, Fiona entered care at the age of 13. That was their simple way of dealing with anything. Put them in a care home. Mother can't look after them. Put them in a care home. You know what I mean? And you'll hear about care homes later on, but not tonight. But what I will say is care homes were treated like a hub for these rape gangs. They was treated like a hub. They would come there, the women, some care homes, the staff would even take these young girls to places and get paid for it. Or a car would pull up and they'd call one of the girls out to go with this person, the taxi driver. It's alright, my son in law's just went past in his car. It does work late some nights. Anyway, so Fiona entered care at the age of 13. She was placed in a child's home that had already been identified as high risk for SE. Right now, when I refer to anything as SE, I'll say this once and only once, because if I keep saying these certain words, this video will not get put out. So S is for sexual or sexually. E is for explicit or exploitation. Right? So SE is sexual exploitation. In a television documentary prior to her arrival. So before she even went there, this care home had been identified as high risk. But they were still sending children there. That should have been closed down. Should have been closed down. Inadequate supervision meant she went missing repeatedly. At 13, she was groomed by an adult Pakistani man whom she estimates were aged between 24 and 45. The grooming began with affection, beverages, quickly progressing to R. R is rape. And D, rugs. Right? She's only 13. This is how they groom them. They buy them the drinks, they buy them food, they buy them the cigarettes. So, you know what I mean? This is how they groom children. They're not getting the attention they want from the people they should, but these people are showing them the attention that they feel they want. But it's the wrong attention. The wrong attention. But they don't understand that. They just see it as, well, this is better than what we was getting before. Dependency, threats, and T is trafficking. So if you just see me say, I'll use the word moving around for that, okay? Dependency, threats, moving around. All at the age of 13. This is going on. And ever since she went to care home, that prior to her arrival, it had been already identified as a high risk for SE. It should have been shut down. Care staff negligence was extreme. The perpetrators would sit in cars outside waiting for the girls, openly converse with staff, and even phone the home to inquire about them. What the hell? You know what I mean? That should never have been going on. But they was being paid for it. The care home was being paid for that. One care worker told Fiona's mother that her boss had described recording the men's car registration plates as above her pay grade. I'd have handed my notice in and gone, I've got every license plate going. I'm handing it in. And if they don't do nothing, I'll go above their heads. You know what I mean? I would have quit my job. I'd have been what they call a whistleblower. Warning that she'd lose her job if she did so. Fiona believes the staff were aware of what was happening, but felt powerless to stop it rather than being actively complicit. Oh, they was complicit because they was talking to him in the cars. Nevertheless, the children's home received £5,000 per week to care for her and failed miserably. £5,000 a week. For what? To arrange taxis to come and pick her up every night. Fiona suspects the management avoided proper investigation for fear of being labelled racist. Yeah, that is why a lot of this was able to go on for so fucking long. The racist. I'm not a racist. Yeah, you are. I'm not. Yeah, yes, you are. Now, Pakistani men, you wouldn't be saying this if those white men. Yeah, my fucking my would. You know what I mean? But that was the problem. People were scared to be called racist. Only the police took any form of action, issuing harbouring notices to the men. Official warnings stating they had no permission to associate with, contact, or house a vulnerable child. However, no further action was followed. When Fiona's mother called the police to report her daughter missing and mentioned the history of A by Asian men, the call handler told her, "You can't describe them as Asian men because that's racist." I bet if you call them vile pieces of shit, is that good enough for you? You should. And then she goes on to say, she told you can't call them Asian big men because that's racist. You should be glad your child is being taught a different culture. What culture is that, love? What fucking culture is she being taught? On one occasion, a police officer returned Fiona to the house where the act was occurring. Listen to this. And told the men to have fun with her. He actually took her back to the house where the A was where it was occurring and told them to have fun with her. Yeah, A lot of this is historic, right? So we're going back to like 70s, 80s, 90s, yeah? Even earlier in some cases. Some in the 50s and 60s. Started in the 50s. The first known one was in the 50s. On another occasion, police instructed the predator that if they could persuade Fiona, listen to this, persuade Fiona to sign herself out of care, the police would stop bothering them. And yeah, the police were so complicit in the grooming gangs. They really were. Backhanders, you know what I mean? The chaos will turn a blind eye. You didn't see nothing. The gang then tried to convince her to do so, intending to move her to Kashmir. She was only prevented from leaving the country because she didn't have a passport. Between 2008 and 2012, Fiona was repeatedly raped by multiple. Oh, that should have been blacked out. So what I mean, if I don't black it out, I'd say by multiple men connected to organised grooming networks. She was often kept in a house known as a party house, where between 10 and 20 men would attend at one time. On one occasion, she was encouraged to bring her friends because the owner had relatives visiting from Birmingham to celebrate Eid and expected girls to be there. I just hope she didn't take friends. Within the house, the girls were routinely referred to as white S's, while the men wanted Pakistani girls kept pure for marriage. Yeah. The gangs reportedly discussed fears that the English Defence League, EDM, would travel armed, so they kept baseball bats for protection. They also allegedly spoke of attending EDL demonstrations with weapons. Allegedly. Now, EDL has not been running since for 10 years plus. Over 10 years, I'd say, because we're 26 now. And I think it was still, I don't think it was going in 2016. I think it stopped by then. Right? And that's when he was starting to look into court cases of these Pakistani men and these girls that have been ARD and I and SA and all that lot. Right. Fiona was not only moved about and ARD across multiple cities in the UK, but was also forced to move rugs. That is criminal activities, is a way. It's criminal exploitation. But you see, then if they got caught with those rugs, they're the ones who's going down. They're the ones who's going to be charged for rugs without looking into why or listening to these young girls as to why they had these rugs on them in the first place. Rug intimidation and violence were used to control her. She was made to clean up the knives from the scene of 2 fatal stabbings. She was present during a shootout. Her perpetrator bragged to her that they had hidden dead bodies in a certain location. This like a never scare thing. A few days later, Fiona recalls the news reporting on a body being recovered from the same location that the perpetrators had disclosed to her. See, I've missed that one as well. Threats of violence carried enormous weight. Yeah, it would. It's a way of keeping the mouth shut. At 14, Fiona was A by a man known as Rambo. Oh, this gets it good. This is good. You know how always say we have enough piece of shits in this country as it is of our own. We don't need to import them. Yeah. He entered Britain illegally in the back of a lorry. This was before the boats. This is when they used to come in on the back of lorries and all that long. Illegally in the back of a lorry. Previously castrated in Pakistan as punishment for CI. Right? I'm quite surprised he didn't get the DP for that. He then fled to the Philippines where he allegedly attacked multiple women and children with a large knife. The origin of his name, Rambo. Right, because Rambo, if you remember the film, had these large knives. He left the Philippines because he knew there was a DP in that country. He knew there's a DP in that country. Rambo was locked in a room with two girls and subjected them to extreme, oh, sorry, to extreme torture. This case illustrates that in some instances, the SA of children was driven more by humiliation and control than by gratification. It's not always about sex, it's also about control. It is. Now you just think what I've just read, and that's only from since she was 13 to 14. She's seeing all that going on in 2 years. At 15, Fiona became pregnant while in a mixed sex care home. This is brilliant, this one is. Her son was later removed and adopted due to the ongoing, exploitation risks. Yet Fiona's life was left in the same dangerous environment. As I put, they'd remove her child due to the ongoing exploitation, but leave her there. What the hell? That shows they knew Fiona was being SA'd and exploited, and once again did nothing. The A continued into her adulthood. So, carried on for 5 years altogether into her adulthood. It only stopped when she turned 18, leaving her with profound physical and psychological trauma, including PTSD, substance dependency, and long term health damage. Fiona states the greatest harm came not only from the A, but from the institutional disbelief, neglect, and punishment that actively enabled the ongoing X. Right? In total, she estimates she was A by between 50 and 100 men. Of those, only two were not Pakistani. So, say she was 50 men, 48 were Pakistani. Yeah? And I wonder why we say, well, it's only the Pakistanis you're picking on because right? There's something in it. I think it was the other night. I'm not sure if later on in this report. But if you took away all the illegals in this country, yeah, all the illegals, those in prison for their crimes, kick them out. Those that have come over here already, not legally but illegally, kick them out. If we used to get rid of all them, right, our crime stats for R and CI and SI and SE and all that lot would go down to about 13-14%. That's not good, but at the moment, I think they're sitting at something like 70%. It's quite high. So if you took all that away, we just have like 13%. As I said, we don't need to import sick people. Piece of shit. Not when we can get our own. A drug film being raped. This is what Fiona says then. I was being beaten regularly. I was rugged, filmed, being argued, and the footage was distributed. I sustained. Oh, hold on. I've got a message come through. Oh, yeah, Carly. Right, I'm just going to come back to my messages because I wasn't keeping an eye on my phone either. Hi, Kylie. Yes, this is terrible. Yeah. And this is what we won't hear on our mainstream news. They won't talk about this on our BBC News and ITV News. The MPs won't talk about it. No. So like I heard that BBC are on about going online. I'm going, oh yeah. Well, I won't be watching you, piece of shit. You know what I mean? Do their news and all that lot. Because you see all these other channels what's going online. Yeah, because they report the truth, piece of shit. You still won't report the truth. You still will not have Tommy Robinson on there and other, as you class them, far right activists. You still won't interview any of them. So BBC, you can go do one. We don't need you on the internet either. Broken bones, facial injuries, and severe trauma are subjected to racial eye in the community and blamed by families of perpetrators. Yeah. Blame her, it's her fault. She's encouraged my son to do this. Really? Now, the next one is Michelle. Whew. This one is going to get to me a bit more. I think it always does more than anything. Michelle was physically I in childhood by both her mother and stepfather. Her piece of shit of a mother had multiple partners throughout Michelle's childhood, many of whom also eyed, eyed her. Some sexually. So when we say I mean abuse. So abuse can come in certain ways. It can be sexually, or it could be like abuse, like physically slapping him around the room and things like that. Shouting at them, screaming at them, calling them names. So it comes in many forms, I does. So that's why I've just said that. So some S, right? She believes this early experience created an association between A, abuse, and love, leaving her particularly vulnerable. Michelle didn't stand a chance from day one with a mother and stepfather like that. She did not stand a chance. From the age of 13, she was groomed by 3 adult Pakistani brothers who supplied her with alcohol, cigarettes, and drugs. That's what they did. Because don't forget, this young girl has had nothing but abuse, both physically, mentally, sexually, by her mother and by her mother's partners and all that lot from a young age, a very young age. How she'd survived to 13, I don't know. From the age of 13, she was groomed by 3 adult Pakistani brothers who supplied her with alcohol, cigarettes, and drugs. She was hard. I don't know what means. Yeah. She was hard while intoxicated, including one occasion when she was taken upstairs while her sister tried to intervene. Because of her upbringing, she thought this was normal. She's 13 and she thought what was going to happen was normal. Wow. I remember there's a woman who was abused from a baby. She just talks on it. She's done her books and everything on her life. And she now talks to groups of girls and whatever. And she was abused from a baby. And I mean a baby. And then she started going to school. And she thought what was happening to her at home was every child, you know what I mean? Because that's what was pushed into her head from a child, from a baby. Every child goes through this. This is just childhood, sort of thing. So she automatically thought all her friends went through the same thing. Never thought about it much. But then eventually she realised that, what was happening wasn't right. You know what I mean? So I'd have to try and find that woman and get her book. I can't think of her name now. I can't get a book without a name, so I might Google it and find him. Because of her upbringing, she thought this was normal, that they were her boyfriends and that they loved her. She would go missing for extended periods and was subjected to repeated daily SA. The perpetrators would collect her from school, her home, and public places, using threats of violence to coerce and control her. Yeah, they just use threats to her, like say, uh, will, uh, will, uh, will grape your sister, will red rum your mom, will firebomb your house, things like that. So like she would go out to these taxis and whatnot. Bobby, shut the hell up. Because I used to think, why do these young girls keep going out to these taxis? Why don't they just stay in their home? tell the parents what's going on and stay in the house. Phone the police, but now we know why. Because A, the police was so complicit in this as it was. Yeah? And B, they just shoot threats. And don't forget, this was, what, 80s, I think it was? So really, mobile phones weren't being about them, because I remember my first mobile phone was like in the 20s, 2000s, I mean 20, in the 2000s. And I only bought a mobile phone then because I was adamant not to get a house phone. So, but it was around about 1999, 2000, I got my first mobile phone. Well, I moved into the house in 1999. So, yeah, I think it was around about 1999 I got my first phone, mobile phone. Right? And not many people I knew then had mobile phones. I knew my brother-in-law had one, but my sister didn't. My mum never did have one. She did near the end, but she never used it. My brothers didn't have one. My husband didn't have one. And my kids didn't have one. And neither did my neighbours have any. Right? So she was left covered in cuts and bruises. Hold on, what we. Oh, at the age of 14, she was gang R. Now, gang R, I mean, means multiple men, more than one. Otherwise, it's just grape. If it's more than one, then it's gang grape. And beaten by three men who had locked her in a house. She was left covered in cuts and bruises, which alerted a friend. Friend told her own mother, who then contacted Michelle's mother. The police were called, but they claimed there was little they could do without more evidence. Look at the girl. Is that not enough evidence? You know what I mean? Is testimony not enough evidence? What do you want? Photos of her being gang raped? Do you want photos? You know what I mean? Because that's the only evidence that is going to smack you in the face and say, look, that's what's happened to me. Because you didn't believe a word they told you. You didn't want to believe a word they told you. Because there's a case, the Stephen Lawrence case in the UK. Sad case. It was a sad case. It was a coloured lad, black lad, coming home with his friend. And I don't know if they'd missed the bus or what, but they was walking along the road. And a group of lads on the other side, white lads, seeing them. And they started giving a bit of the mouth off and all that lot. Then the white lads come over to the coloured lads, right, still mouthing off. But then there's a bit of a tussle and a huss put thing, and one of them got stabbed. One of the black lads got stabbed, but they managed to run off and get away. But the one lad collapsed so far down the road because of his injuries, and he died. It took years to get these lads put away, which I think was disgusting, right? Why? I don't know. Because it doesn't make sense why the police would be so lapsy-daisy in this case and protect these white lads. You think they'd protect the black lad? Oh my God, it's a black lad that's been stabbed. We've got to do something here, right? Well, because of that case, it changed every way every organisation looked into anything. Anyone of colour, they was to be treated slightly different. So instead of thinking, oh, hey, look, white lads, they wouldn't do that. They literally turned it from one, the scale thing from, oh, it's white lads, they wouldn't do that, to, oh, we got to protect these blacks and the Asians and all that lot now. Because there was because of being called racist. They've been called racist. The cops were called racists for not doing their job properly. So because they didn't want to be called racist again, they went from one angle and went way too far. Instead of just stopping in this little pedometer or whatever, just stopping in the middle and going, right, don't care what colour they are, black, white, pink, green, blue, purple, don't care. If they've committed a crime, they're going to prison. No, no, no. They went totally towards people of colour. Anyone with colour was to be treated differently. It's in their fucking handbooks. This is what they're being taught now. They're being taught this. They have to go on courses and get taught this. New cops are being taught it before in their training now. But if you're being in the kit, if you was a police officer before that Stephen Lawrence case and everything, then you had to go to these courses. I'd be saying, don't come looking at me. I do my job without fear or favour. And that is what the police say. We do our job without fear or favour. Oh, yes, you do. No, you don't. You're scared. You fear the fact that you could be called racist. And you favour those with darker skin. Right? And that's why this has been allowed to get away with for so fucking long. It made it worse after that Stephen Lawrence case. Because the rule book suddenly changed. Oh, we don't want to be called racist. Oh, we're not racist. Look, we got lovely black families and friends. Look, we go to the, what's the name thing in London? Where is he? That thing they do? The pride thing or whatever it is they do. And they're dancing in the streets with them. See, we don't have any favour for anyone. But I don't see you doing that with the UK marches when they playing the music and dancing down the street. You don't join in then, do you, loves? No, you're a piece of fucking shit. I swear, I've got no faith in the police. No more. I really have not. Because I remember once there was an incident when I lived in Birmingham, when my neighbour's house got, literally a group of lads come down the road and bombed her house with stones and smashed the windows. Right? Now I saw these lads carrying on down the road, so I only saw the back of them. I don't know who they were. Right? And I've stood out in my garden, and this police officer's come up to me in my neighbour's garden over the fence saying, "Did you see anything?" I went, "No." And I said, "And even if I did, I wouldn't be telling you." She said, "Why is that?" I said, "Because you see my windows? They're nice, aren't they? Yeah, my windows are nice." I said, "But for all I know, they could be hiding, standing down the bottom of that road, standing down the bottom of this road, and see me talking to you. Where are you when my windows go through? You won't be here then, will you?" Well, we can't help people if they don't talk to us. I said, well, you don't help us anyway. Right? And then my friend who lived across the road was in my garden said, well, I saw it, love. I went, excuse me. I said, do you want to talk to this copper? Go over to your own fucking garden. Have your windows put through, but don't touch my windows. And then don't come moaning to me when you get your windows put through because you've been speaking to the police. Because I don't want to know. And the police said, well, we can't help you if you don't. You're never here anyway. I said, you're never here when we need you. So what's the fucking point? So, right. Now the police accepted him as her. Oh, listen to this. One of the gang, right? The police were called, but they claimed there was little they could do without more evidence. One of the gang members later forced Michelle to go to the police station with him. One of these perpetrators of what happened to her has took her to the police station to retract her statement. Of course she's going to retract it because if she knows she's going to be dead and otherwise. Right? The police accepted him as a appropriate adult. What? What the fuck? A role normally reserved for a parent, close family member, social worker, or trained professional. A social worker can go suck on it. Trained professionals go suck on it. Because you weren't there for her. Social workers and trained professionals, you was not there for that young girl. Not one of you. The investigation was subsequently dropped. And I put, Michelle as a mother, that should never have had him as her appropriate adult, as if she were took while her abuser is right by her. Oh yeah, Mr. Copper, yeah, I was essayed by this guy sitting by me, and he beat me up, and he done this and he done that. She's really gonna sit there and talk, you know what I mean? What piece of shit they were. One of Michelle's friends who lived in a care home would be collected directly outside by the same gang. Care staff would call the police, but officers reportedly referred the girls as street workers. Hold on. Right. Street workers. She's how old? 15? 15. She can't consent. Now, street workers, they consent because they know what they're doing, they know the dangers they are in, and they know what's expected of them. They are consenting. They get paid for it. Right? This young girl was 15. You cannot consent under the age of, I think it was 18, 16 or 18. 16. You cannot consent under the age of 16. Yet they call them street workers, the other word, the P word. I think they need to go back to fucking school and find out the laws. If everyday person knows that a child under 16 cannot consent, then how the hell can they be known as a P, a street worker? Hmm? I know there are some street workers that do go out and they hand the money over to their pimps and whatever. But not many of them have pimps nowadays. There are still some that do, but most of them do it for themselves, right? But there are still who still have some pimps. These girls were getting paid, despite them being children. Yeah. How can you? A child cannot be called a, or I say, prostitute because they cannot consent. If she's 16, maybe 17, different, right? But not at 15 and 14 and 13. They cannot consent. Michelle says, both social services and the police, Michelle says, failed to understand the situation and believed the girls were engaging in the activity by choice. Oh, yeah. Tell you what, I'm just going to go down. Mum, I'm just going out, okay? Yeah. I'm going to go and meet my friend down the road. So then we're going to go to this party house. We're going to get gang raped, plied with alcohol and drugs, beaten up, physically, sexually abused. I may not even get home alive. But, right, Mum. Yes, that's her choice to do that. No, it's because I always just think, why do they do this? Why do they go out? It's intimidation, coercion. They're threatening them. If they don't come out to the taxi, right? They will they will bomb the house, firebomb the house. They're threatening her family. As a result, little was done to intervene. Little. Feck all was done to intervene. When she was abducted and went missing, no one came looking for her. And this is 14-year-old. Social once told her that at age 14, she will be allowed, listen to this, allowed to live with her 30-year-old boyfriend, as long as they did not share a room. Oh, right, you're going to have cameras in the home, are you? Social workers, are you going to put cameras in the bedrooms and everything so you make sure they sleep in their own beds? Are you going to do that? Don't talk crap. Both social services and police need to go back to school and learn the difference between a prostitute and a sexually abused trafficked child. Yeah. Michelle was raped in bin sheds, threatened with a knife, and forced into sex with multiple men waiting in cars. She was rubbed, beaten, burned with cigarettes, locked in rooms, and passed between men. An amusement arcade was used as a front for drug dealing, and the essay of children. A child as a result of leading to miscarriages, one abortion, and one surviving child. Sorry about this cough. It's fucking annoying cough again. I'm going to have to go to the chemist now and try and get something to clear it. Other perpetrators, she states, 98% of them were Pakistani Muslim. If not, those Iraqi Muslim or Kurdish. Oh, come back here. Come on. Oh dear, hold on. Michelle believes these gangs have remained untouchable. Untouchable. Because authorities fear being labelled There's that word again, racist. This describes an extensive network of perpetrators operating across the entire country, calling it industrial in scale. It functions as a large central network with smaller connected groups in specific localities. Michelle claims she was raped by between 6 and 700 different men over the course of 3 years. Let that sink in. 6 and 700 different men over the course of 3 years. Right? That's different men. How about how many of these men came back more than once? She now lives with severe PTSD. Yeah, I'm not surprised. And lifelong trauma, describing both her childhood and her future as destroyed. I'm sorry, but I have to say this, the police and social services and healthcare professionals are all complicit in trafficking, abuse and sexual exploitation. It's like, let's say, there's charges they can add onto these, right? If a young girl is S8, and there's extra charges that can add on to it, such as if it's a religious thing or racial, right? This is both racial and religious. It's racial because they're only going for English girls, and it's religious because they believe their religion, in their religion, white girls are trash and can be doing anything for anything, right? That's how they see. So in my eyes, yes, it is still religious and racist. It's the second or third one. This is the third one we've read. Whitney grew up in a vulnerable household. Her mother suffered from severe mental health issues, and her father was absent from life. I wonder what the severe mental health issues were caused from. Perhaps her mother had a bad bring up as life, or was mother how had the mother been on drugs? Not a good start in life already. You know what I mean? Yeah. She was first groomed and SA'd at the age of 15 by two adult Pakistani brothers. You know, just the thing there. The last one was three brothers. This one's two brothers. One of the brothers, Whitney recalls, acted as a boyfriend figure. Both brothers would regularly take her to a flat in Birmingham, oh God, where I grew up, born and grew up. So apply her with alcohol, and in her words, she would have sex with them. And I've got a good idea as to where these um whether it's like a flat. I've got a good idea where these flats were. Yeah, I really do. Well, a good idea of several areas of where the flats could have been. You know what I mean? Not just one area, several areas. I remember once I was babysitting for my brother, and they lived in a flat at the time. They soon moved out of that flat then. And They went out, so I locked up and everything. And it was getting dark, so I thought I'd put the light on. That light went on, and within a split second went back off. I sat there with the TV on in pitch black. And they come in and they said, "Why haven't you put the light on?" I said, "That's a red light you got in there, a red bulb. Well, how high up are we?" I said, "Anyone around the fucking Birmingham would see this fucking light." They went, "Oh shit, I forgot that. I meant to change it." I went, "Thanks. That's why I'm sitting in the fucking dark with just the TV on." I said, "I did put it on, but within a split second it was back off." Because if now they have there's a thing. Blue is for boys, right? People who got a prefer for boys. I think pink was for any men who had the preference for girls, and red was for the working street girls and things like that. They had different colours for whatever. And I remember once there was this one flat in this where I lived in Dundee, and I could see it from my flat, and I went, "That's a blue light." Right, and I was telling my son about it one day. I said, "Next time you're here on a Tuesday," because I used to come over on a Tuesday. He had a day off, so he'd come over. I said, "And you don't go home, and it's dark by the time you go home, right?" "Yeah." I said, "Well, I want to show you something." And I showed him. I said, "You see that light over there?" He went. We looked over. I said, "In that block over there, right in front of us." He went, "There's a blue light." I went, "Thank you. I'm not seeing things then." He went, "No, that's not good." I said, "No, it's not good, is it?" And if you look at that map on here, Dundee is one of the areas, Angus, Tayside is one of the areas which is, what was he? Rockingham for grooming gangs. And that didn't surprise me because I did know there was a big break once where a house got raided and some children got found and whatever, where they'd been moved about from house to house and whatever, and they found them in this one house. And it was literally in a car, it'd be about 10 minutes from where I lived, if that. But without a car, you're looking at two buses. So you're looking at anything like 30 to 45 minutes away. But this is just horrendous what we're reading here. And as I said, I've gone through this because, as I've mentioned, there are bits I've still missed, and I will go back and black them out. But the fact that the government is not talking about it, and our new MP, Prime Minister, he won't do fuck all about it. No, he's not going to do fuck all about it. Because yes, we've got a new Prime Minister coming, Andy Burnham. Unless anyone else goes up against him, our new Prime Minister will be Andy Burnham. He's the same as Keir Starmer, but with a different accent. So they're asking now for once he gets put in as Prime Minister, which will be by the 18th of this month, of July, I should say. Is it June or July? I think it's 18th of July. He'll be up and running as Prime Minister by then. They're asking for a snap election, meaning We need an election now. Not in 2 years' time, now. But you see, Restore Britain is not ready for the snap election because they've got no people up in Scotland, which means I'd have to vote for Reform. You know what I mean? I'd rather vote for Restore, but if there's no Restore, then I'm going to have to vote Reform. Because we do not want Labour in, do not want the Conservatives in, right? And that's how everyone would be thinking. But you see, down in England, will he have people already in England? All over England, not just in one place in, one place there. He needs hundreds of seats, hundreds of MPs to get in. He needs, what, about 350 something? Would you get that at the moment? No. So I think everyone will be thinking, you know what, we love Restore, but we need to make sure Labour or Conservatives do not get in. And to do that, we've got to vote Reform. And that's why, what's his name, Nigel Farage, is pushing for a snap election. Because he knows if you give Restore Britain another 2 years, they'll be situated in all over the UK, Scotland, Wales, Ireland, everywhere. And people will vote for Restore rather than Reform. And then he won't get in. But if he does a snap election, he will. Because people think they've got no members up in Scotland yet, and no members in Ireland, and no members all in Wales, and not long. And hardly anyone in England. So they'd vote for Reform. Not that we want him, but we don't want Labour or Conservatives getting in. God help us, no. I think people have learnt a lesson by voting Labour in that time. They thought they was doing the right thing. We'll change everything for you. You'll be better off with us. Give us a fucking break. Anyway, this is not a political channel. This is a crime and justice channel. I will continue. They should be took to a flat in Birmingham, supply with drinks, and in her words, she would have sex with them. That's the start of the grooming. Hold on. Hold on. Sorry about that, everyone. That was my daughter-in-law phoning me. She's just booked the council to come and pick up this armchair she had But at the same time, they're taking my washing machine, my old washing machine. So they're going to take my washing machine from my back garden over to theirs on Monday. Right. Oh no, you said it's booked for Tuesday, so that's tomorrow. Oh, I'll tell you what, just keep going. I'll phone them back in a minute. Anyway, the interactions with Whitney soon turned violent. They began beating her and on one occasion held a hot iron to her face. I remember one girl, not in here, she's not in this one, but it was said that her tongue was nailed to the wall while they abused her sexually, ate her, nailed her tongue to the wall. This is how sick people are. Whitney recalls that the brothers stopped contacting her after they arrived at her house to collect her and found all of her uncles sitting on the wall outside. After that incident, they never came back. Thank God. She cannot remember exactly how or why her uncles were there, but she believes her mother had asked them to intervene. Good one, Mum and uncles. You must be grateful you got a mum and uncles that did that for you, girl. But then, many years later, Whitney's daughter began self-harming at the age of 11 and even attempted suicide. So, many years later, she said, so this was when she was 15, so when she's 20, so she'd be in her 30s, right, by the time a child was 11. And even attempted suicide. A phone contained what? SE messages. Whitney's daughter told her there was a sex room at school run by the older boys. Deeply concerned for her daughter, Whitney contacted social services. They offered little support beyond talking through the problems. Wow. In one instance, social services accidentally sent her six other children case files instead of her daughter's. That's gross negligence, which left her deeply distrustful of their ability to help. Yeah, sent us six files of six other girls, but not her daughters. That's negligence. Neglect, gross neglect. Whitney was coerced into sending images, which was then circulated across multiple schools, the local community, and eventually the internet. Now that is when they start sending it by on the internet, isn't that what's it called? Something to do with trading images and something like that. I'd have to look that up. This led to her receiving unwanted attention from adult men and various ethnicities and from multiple countries. From that point on, Whitney's daughter began going missing irregularly. These disappearances were directly linked to S demands and E by older boys and older men. She was threatened with violence if she contacted the police and sometimes returned home with items of clothing missing. Whitney repeatedly reported her concerns to the police and social services, clearly stating that she believed her daughter was being SE'd. SE. Police responses were often delayed, statements were not taken, the investigation was closed without further action. Social services refused to relocate the family, downgraded the risk level, and eventually closed the case despite ongoing exploitation. Whitney herself was blamed, and her own past was used to undermine her credibility as a parent. Bearing in mind, she's probably in her 30s now, so this would have been 15 years earlier. I think she's managed to get past what happened to her a little bit, being as she's managed to have her own daughter and bring her own daughter up to the age of 11 without no problems. Her family received repeat threats, including warnings that their house would be burned down, faces would be slashed, and machetes be used. Later, Whitney discovered that her daughter had been placed on the National Referral Mechanism, NRM, as a moving victim. Right? Without her being informed. Why was she never informed? If your child is put on any at-risk, any register, the parents should be informed. The NRM is the UK's official framework for identifying, referring, supporting victims of human moving about and modern slavery. It serves as a recognition by a designated professional that an individual is a potential victim of human moving about or modern slavery. Well, they did fuck all for these girls. Fair cool. There are more cases. More. And I can't read no more because I'll quickly go through them because there's some which is just so heartbreaking. It's like they was going to hospitals and hospitals with sexually transmitted diseases, right? 13, 14, 15-year-old girls. How the hell are they getting these diseases? Oh, they're sexually active. At 13 and 14 years old. And the hospitals were doing nothing. Even though they noted there's something not right, they're still not intervening. It's like Snapchat, they do Snapchat, the perpetrators, Lord. Because Snapchat, you can send a message and know within a minute or so after you've sent that message, unless you're quick enough to screenshot it, it's gone. Gone. They've been smoking. Sally believes her daughter participated in something happened to her, but she was found. Oh, this is it. This is where her daughter was found guilty of lying about grape. Right? Her daughter got a job, so her daughter was working. But then she wanted to move away from home. She later found guilty of lying about. Oh no, hold on, I'll read it a bit more. When her daughter handed in her phone as evidence, the police found hundreds of messages from Asian men. They believed she was being groomed. She was later found guilty of lying about the grape she'd reported, even though they got evidence on her phone that she was being groomed. But they still found you guilty of lying about grape. Make that make sense? They would take her phone off her, which meant the referral agencies could not contact her as her number kept changing. Yeah, because they take her phone off her was they trying to destroy evidence on her phones, like phone numbers and all that long. She's forever being charged with this or that, but the perpetrators were being charged with fuck all. The following week, her daughter attempted suicide by overdose. She went missing one final time and was found in a field with injuries to her head and her ear and a severed finger and numerous cuts and bruises. I put, so did she do all this to herself? Because they put it down to self-harming before. Following this, because they didn't believe her again, following this, she wrote a post on Facebook alleging that she'd been a victim of grooming gangs. The post went viral. Within half an hour, the police arrested her and she was sent to prison. For what? Telling the truth. And I can tell you now, this is still going on. In Blackpool, in Brill, all these seaside places, it's going on there. Right? Blackpool is a big one, I'd say as well, for all this grooming and all that lot. But it's everywhere. It's not stopped. People need to, but then again, in the areas where it's happening, like these hotels, some of these hotels are taking them to. Just have to see these young girls going into these hotels with the men and won't do nothing. Some do phone the police, right? So the police come, but the perpetrators don't get arrested. Um, so good on the hotels for reporting it to the police. But really, I think they need to stop them before they even go any further into the hotel and say, "Excuse me, sir, these young girls." No, you know what I mean? And call the police then before they even go up in the lift into the rooms. But the police take their sweet fecking time to come to any call outs. And that's another problem. And we'll look at this again tomorrow night. I'm so tired today. But I've just wanted to come on and do a couple more of these. But there's part of this I want to go over tomorrow night, which aren't the testimonies, right? There's more testimonies further on. But more about the people, the organisations and groups that ignored these children's cry for help. I'm going to look at them tomorrow. Because they all need to be named and shamed. And a lot of these police officers now have all been retired off on nice big pensions. They should be named and shamed. Sorry, you got a nice big pension? Well, I hope you can take you to a nice place where you won't know anyone because your name's going out there. You know what I mean? I would name and shame them. Social services, close them down. They're no good. The social workers, all that lot, close them down. Start again. Get rid of all the ones that are in there and get new staffing. Train them properly. Not just a week or a week's course. Train them for a couple of months and more. Have them do voluntary work with children, organisations and things like that before they go into social work. I knew a girl who was training, who was at college to become a social worker. And I put a situation where I said, right, I said, if you turn up at a flat and you go in there to see a child because you've had some information come in, and you don't see that child for whatever reason, why don't you call the police? Why don't they call the police and get the police there and demand to see that child? You know what she told me? And I'm going back, what? This was in 2000 and, was it 2009? 2009. 2009. She said, the reason we can't phone the police is because it's too much paperwork. I just stood there, looked at her and went, what look? Too much paperwork. You've gone there on some information to check on a child. You're not seeing that child. Why don't you call the police and demand to see that child? You don't leave. So no, we have to leave. We can't phone the police. Well, what the fucking use are you? What use are you to that child? You're no use to a child. So why are you becoming a social worker then? To help children. But you're no use to them because a mother can say, oh, the child's not here, the child's at his uncle's, the child's at his aunt's, they're at the friends for the tea and whatever. When they could be in a bedroom, being told to be quiet. But because you can't go in and you can't check, or you don't see that child, you just walk away, you take their word for it. Hmm? Said, well, we have to have some trust. I said, there's no trust when it comes to children, not with the adults. When there's children involved, you don't trust what the adults say. You listen to the children, but don't talk to them in front of the parents. And make sure the parents are out of earshot as well when you do talk to them. Because they're not going to talk to you if they know the parents going to be listening on the other side of the door. Hi, Michelle. I'm good, thank you. Yourself? I was just saying, I can't read no more of these testimonies. It's really getting to me. Because the failures for these young girls is unbelievable. The failure of them. It's just unbelievable. But as I said, that case when I was talking to a young girl who's training in college to become a social worker, she could not phone the police if she went to a house to see a child and they refused to show that child. They couldn't call the police. So I said, what the fucking use are you then? You know what I mean? I would not leave that house until I saw that child. And if it meant calling the police, I'd call the police. And if it meant more paperwork, I'll do the fucking paperwork. Right, I had a job once in a care home as an activities coordinator. It's just 3 days a week. Right? Was it 3 days? No, 5 days a week, sorry. Or was it 3? I can't remember. And by the end of the first week, I was taking home my paperwork because I had so much paperwork because I could have just fobbed it all off and whatever I wanted, right? But for every activity we did, I had to write up a sheet on every person who was joined in on the activity. How they how they interacted, did they enjoy it, did they like and everything. Right? So what I used to do, I'd make quick notes as I'm going around in my book. Then because I'd have more than one activity in the day, I wouldn't have time to get all the paperwork typed up. So I was coming home and typing, and then I didn't have a laptop or computer then. It's just a typewriter. So I'd sit there typing it all up at home. And then I thought, well, I'll do it in my dinner hours. But then the head nurse said they needed my help in feeding some of the residents. I mean, okay then. So instead of doing what I should have been doing in my lunchtime, in their lunchtime, and having my lunch while they had their lunch, I wasn't. Right? I wasn't getting my work, so I was having to take it home. So if it means more fucking paperwork, you sit in your office till 10 o'clock at night if you have to. I would have, but I had 2 kids to pick up from school, so I could. Yes, it's been an ongoing problem since the 50s. The first case was in the 50s, 1950s. And as I said, when I grew up, right, I was born late 60s, 66, right? And 70s, I was in infant junior school. But up until 76, 77, it was like you went out to play. I wasn't allowed out the street up until I was about 11, 10 or 11. And then I was only allowed to go out the street, I think it was when I was 10, if I was with my brothers. Right? So up until the age of 10, I had to stay in the road, in the street. Which is okay, because everyone else, they had girls the same age and boys and whatever. And none of us was allowed at the park until we was around about 10. So when we was 10, we was all allowed to go at the park then. And, but the police then had that attitude of, oh, well, you know what they're like. Boys will be boys. You know what I mean? And that was the attitude of the police then. So, and I thought, nothing has changed really. Apart from the fact that it's now more, it's, you hear it and see it more. It's daily. It's not one day a month or one day every couple of months. It's daily, 7 days a week, 4 weeks in a month, 12 months a year. It's daily. There's no respite for me. When you open your papers, when you turn your TV on, when you go on YouTube, it's there daily, in and out, in and out. And as I said, I'm not sure if it's later on in this file, further on down in this file, but it was something like the rate of crime was like 70 something, 80 something percent, I think, something like that. However, if we had put, if we just, if we just sent home all the illegals, not legals, the illegals, right? And all those in prison for their crimes, sent them back out of the country, got rid of them. Do you know our crime rate for the stats for rape in the UK would be down to about 14. 15%. Now, you think that's up in the 70s, 80s at the moment. That's a hell of a big drop, isn't it? Down to 14, 15%. If we got rid of all these illegals who was committing these crimes, right? And they say, oh, a lot of them are legal. No, they're not. No, they're not legal. And if they are, then revoke their UK citizenship. We can do that. Revoke it. Send them out. Bad part, it goes both ways. Sometimes have people making a mountain out of a molehill. Just hold hands with somebody today. They can say, yeah, yeah. You can't even look at some people without being accused of something. Right? And I'm thinking, holy shit. When I grew up, we could have full on fights and arguments, you know what I mean? Yeah? But, and we'd be called white trash or you niggle around, all that lot. We was called them things. If we was seen with a black guy, a black lad. Yeah? And now, if you used to say that, you'd probably get put in prison. But when I grew up, it was, oh, shut the feck up. You know what I mean? If I told him to feck off, I'll punch the lights out. Simple as. You didn't have all these, what I call, snowflakes, who have been so mollycoddled as children, as babies and children, and they've never been told the word no. Where you can be in a room and if you look at someone the wrong way, I don't like the way she's looking at me. I'll shut the fuck up. It's like when I worked as a community care worker, right? When I worked in Dundee, before I moved to Forfar, and then I moved back to Dundee, right? There's this old man I used to go to. Oh, he was brilliant, right? But he was always getting complaints putting about him. And I said, what are these complaints that are going in about you? He said, oh. He said, apparently the young girls don't like my banter, right? Now he grew up in the year this, and he'd go to. I go right. I get him up in the morning, out of bed, and we go through to the bathroom. I shower him, dry him, get him dressed, take him through to the living room, make him his breakfast and his cup of tea. And while he's doing that, then I go and tidy up the bedroom and the bathroom. And I go to him, right, I can't think of his name now, but say it's Fred. I go, right, Fred, I'm just going to go and make your bed now. And then I go, well, don't bother putting your knickers on, right? And I went, I don't wear them. And you know what? He just shut him up because that was the sort of banter he'd give me. And I grew up with that banter. I can give as good as they give, right? But the girls today, they can't take that. There was only one guy I did say, do not send me back there again. That was in Forfar. And I go there, I used to have to go there at 10 o'clock at night, was it? No, I think it was 9 o'clock at night. 9. And it was okay at first. And he was always grabbing at me and trying to pull me onto the bed. And I go, now pack it in. None of that. Right? And then one night, he just literally, I don't know how I managed to stay on my feet. I don't. He just grabbed me so quickly without me knowing, seeing him, and he pulled me. And I literally went flying over on the bed with him. And then I went, and I just said to him, I said, look, don't send me to that gentleman again. I said, I can give as good as I take. As good as I give, I can give it back, right? I said, but this guy is constantly grabbing at me, which I can say, look, enough is enough, pack it in. But that last time I went there, He literally grabbed me without me seeing. Right, and before I could react, I was literally over on the bed. And I said, "That's enough now. No more." Right? So after that, I never went back there. I really didn't. Yeah, real cases are getting lost in the mix, but it doesn't help. Right? It doesn't help when. Oh, I just got to get my mic in the right position so I hit the button. It doesn't help when they, these girls say they don't get the help they need, right? Because they're not getting it on a regular basis, not getting the counselling they needed. They're not getting the therapy they need on a regular weekly basis or regular day-to-day basis. They're not getting it, right? And because it was intermittent whenever they got the help, they found it useless, right? I was referred to for counselling once because I wasn't sleeping. So I went to my doctors about, oh, I'm not sleeping, right? And all this crap. And I wasn't, for some reason, I don't know why it was, I just was not sleeping. And he said, right, I'm going to advise you to refer you to a counsellor, right? And so you can speak to them. I went, okay, whatever. If you think I need to go to counselling, I'll go. I don't mind sitting there for 10, 15 minutes talking their heads off. I can do that. I walked in, next week or so, I walked in, and before I'd even sat down, this woman had gone, didn't even say her name, didn't say hello to me. She went, if you think by coming here we're gonna be able to get you a house, then think again. And I looked at her and I said, hello, my name's Angela. And I said, by the way, I didn't want to come here. My doctor told me to come here. I said, because all I wanted was some sleeping fucking tablets. Because I wasn't sleeping. Anyway, we sits down. I think I was in that room 10, 15 minutes. And she had a clock on the table. And there was a clock. Was there a clock behind me? No, there wasn't. She had this clock on the table. Now, I was by the door. And she was away from the door. And every so often, she'd keep taking her eyes off me. And I'd notice it, and I'd see her eyes flick over to the clock. And I'd go, are we in a rush? She'd think, well, we only have so long here. So I stood up, I went, well, I'll tell you what, I'll go now, and you can learn a lesson from this. Do your fucking job. And walked out. I went back to the doctors the next day and I said, do not send me to her again. I do not want to go to her for counselling again. I said, she sat there. First of all, she accused me of going there just because I wanted a house, which I didn't. I was quite happy with the flat I had. Nice big 3-bedroom flat. Oh yeah, I was happy with my flat. Big kitchen, nice sized bedrooms, everything. I wish I could have moved that flat from there to another area. Anyway, so I said, she accused me of wanting to go there for that. I said, and then she sat there constantly watching the clock. And it was because of her, I decided when I moved to Stechford, I wanted to go back to college. I wanted to do some more education. So I was doing an English course, and I thought, I want to do another one. So I did an access course to counselling, right? And they always say when you're counselling anyone, wear a watch in a position on your arm so you can see it on your lap. just so that your eyes just quickly flick down to the watch, right? But not really losing contact. Well, you are losing contact with them, but literally for a split second, right? Or have a clock on the wall behind them, so that when you're listening to them, you can also see the clock behind them. They said, and never put yourself in a position where you've got to get past them for the door. Always put yourself nearest to the door, so if they go for you, you can get to the door to get out. Two vital good things there. And that's why I went into doing a counselling course because of that. Because of that counsellor. Because she was fucking crap. What we were learned to say, was at the beginning of any counselling course, after you've introduced yourself and everything, and you've sat down, you say to them, I'll just have to let you know that if you say anything to me that is going to cause harm to either you or someone else, you you must. I have to let you know that I will be informed. I will be informing the necessary groups, organisations like the police or the hospitals or mental health or something like that. So then they knew then, well, I'm going to go down this road and I'm going to be talking about how I want to alive myself. But if I talk about that, she's going to report me, right? So you go down another avenue. As long as you don't tell a counsellor something there where you're going to harm yourself or others, then you're perfectly safe. Healthcare systems are so badly broken, Michelle. And why is that? Why is that? Oh, yeah. Because of the influx in patients and because they haven't got the money, because they're putting the money into other areas of the hospital, they're not putting it into the healthcare, into the mental health and all that lot. They're not. And it's so many different fractions then of that mental health. You've got mental health as the main one, but then you've got like another avenue where you'd have to go down to this person's speech, you know what I mean? Or this person for that, or that person for that. And I think, why can't you just keep it under one heading, mental health? Whether you've got anxiety, depression, whatever. Just keep it under one heading, mental health. Not mental health and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. But yeah, that's why our healthcare is system is badly broken because of the influx of more patients. And why we got more patients? Oh yeah, we've got more patients because we've got more people coming into our country illegally, by the way, with TB. Oh yeah, they're bringing TB into the country. Right, and AIDS again. AIDS is on the rise again, from what I understand. Because they're coming from countries which don't have the medication for those two things, AIDS or TB. They don't have the medication. We've literally eradicated TB in this country, right? Because we have the injections for it. You know what I mean? But there's lots of countries that don't have it. So when they come into our countries, then like they are, they're coming over with TB. And they're not being monitored, they're not being checked. What changed so badly over the years that mental health is an epidemic? Rugs. Rugs. Rugs is a big problem for mental health. Right? You look at these girls that are being, in this case, they've all been put on rugs and alcohol. Right? So if you've been used by these gangs for like what for, for like 5, 6, 7, 8, say 5 years and more, yeah. And every time, every day, use on the rugs and the alcohol. And then you've got all those abuse, all that abuse to add to it as well. Yeah, mental health is treated like a trend. Yeah, I've got anxiety. So have I. But I haven't got a mental health problem. Fuck. I don't like going out. I don't like people, full stop. I don't like going out. I'm supposed to go to the shops today. I can be asked. I'm supposed to go out and do my garden today. Didn't want to even go out in my own garden. I don't go out. I don't like people because there's going to be some day that someone's going to run into me. I'm going to slap the hell out of them because I don't like stupid people. And there's too many stupid people out in the streets. Yeah, what we call stress. Yeah, they have complete shutdown. Oh, I can't cope. Oh, I can't cope. Oh, fuck off. It's ridiculous. More people I meet, more I like the cats. Yeah, I'm here. Right? I only see my family and maybe my neighbour next door. And that's it. I say hello to my neighbours when I see them. That's it. But I don't like going out in general. As I said to my doctor one day, I said, I don't like going out because there's too many stupid people. I said, you can't fix stupidity. I said, but a good old slap can. She looked at me and said, I think I'll put you on these tablets. That will help you sleep. Where then you feel more able to do your normal day routine things each day. No, no, it doesn't help. It helps me sleep, but it still doesn't help me with the stupid people. It's like my friend Angie, who used to live, right? Apparently, my cat's been going in her house, right? And I've told her, kick the cat out. Apparently, my cat is sitting at her back door crying. Ignore him. He'll go home. Well, she come over yesterday with some cakes that he made with my granddaughter. And we stood by the back door talking. And she said something about the cats. And I went, oh, okay. I said, strange how it's only Bobby that comes to your house. Yeah, Bobby is the cat she used to love. She loved Bobby. She favoured him over Toby. She said to me once, why does Toby always turn his back on me? I said, well, what do you expect? When you walk in, go straight to Bobby. If you sit in the living room, who do you call? Bobby. You come in from work, who do you call? Bobby. Who do you give loves to? Bobby. I said, it's easy. Why do you think he comes to me? Because I give him his loves. Bobby comes to me because I give him loves. I don't leave one out over the other. Right? So the other day when I was talking to her at the back door, I said, strange how it's only Bobby coming to your back door and not Toby. Right? Yeah, this is where I caught her out on a lie. She went, I've not seen Toby round mine. Really? Is that why when I was at yours the other week, Toby was in your neighbour's garden? Hmm. But Toby's not been round by yours. But he's been in your neighbour's garden, but he's not been round by yours. I call BS on that. And when I called her out on it, I said, how strange it is it's only Bobby that's coming to hers. She went quiet. I thought, yeah. Because I said, unless you've been bribing him to come in. And she went quiet. She didn't say, no, I haven't. She didn't deny nothing. She went zippity doo quiet. I went, yeah. You've been getting him to come in on your own. It's only Bobby. Toby don't go in. So why not Toby? Why would Toby not go in? Aye? If Bobby goes in, why wouldn't Toby go in? Because Toby's not being enticing. Bobby has. So when I pulled you up on it yesterday, she didn't like it. I thought, no, you don't like it because I say it to your face, I say it as I see it. Right? And I'm having to bite my tongue at the moment because Lee was over, right, next door last week and was talking about the cats there. And I said, oh, Bobby goes to anyone. Toby won't go to anyone though because he's a mummy's boy. Right? Anyway, we was talking about the cats and then apparently she told Angie something. Or was it Tracy? I can't remember. And she talked to him about the cats again. I said, I told her just the other fucking day. Kick my cats out. Don't entice them in. Don't call them in. Don't acknowledge them. Kick them out. Right? Simple. Because her and Angie are enticing my cats into the house. And I've had enough. And I'm having to bite my tongue because if I don't, I'm going to say something she won't like. She's already been pulled up once by a family that just across the road from here for feeding their cat. So it's when I see her, it's like bite your tongue, Ange, bite your tongue, bite your tongue. And I saw her the other day when I was coming back from my daughter-in-law's, my son's, and she's in her garden. I think her son was there or son-in-law. Someone was there with the granddaughter that's cutting her front lawn. Even though she's only got a little bit of a front lawn. They was cutting it. And she went, hello, Angela. I went, hello. Carry on, Ange. Carry on. Keep walking. Keep walking. Because you're going to say something. And my daughter, like when I was talking to her the other day, my daughter was with me. My daughter's looking at me going, don't say it, Mum. Don't say it. Because my daughter knows. And she can see I'm biting my tongue. I'm literally biting my tongue. And I walk around, come in my tongue, and go, fucking man, my tongue hurts. She'll go, stop fucking biting it. Then I said, can't help it. Because I have to bite my tongue. Otherwise, I'm going to say something. Literally bite my tongue. One of these days, I'm going to bite the tip off my tongue. I really am. Going to bite the tip off it. But I am the one person that would say as I see it. And I'll call you out. Well, I've grown up where I used to, okay, Ange, keep it calm. You know what I mean? It's not worth it. And I get build up and build up and build up. And then, boom. Now it's like, you know what, I can't give a fuck. I'm not holding this thing no more. Boom. Straight away. I'll jump on it straight away. Because I can't be arsed with the aggro. and the stress it causes, knowing that someone said this or someone's done this. I'll jump on them. As soon as I know, that's it, I'm in there. And Angie doesn't like that. She's probably gone back and told her daughter and my son about how I pulled up about the cats, about Bobby again. But I'm only saying what I think is true, which I know is true. Toby don't go in the house, but Bobby does, and we know she favours Bobby. She come in the other week when she come in with some tobacco she bought for me, which I gave her the money for. Right? And I was in the kitchen talking to her. And she said, Bobby, come in. She said, oh, have you missed me, baby? Bobby. I went, why would he miss you? I said, he's got his mama. You know what I mean? Why would he miss you? He's got his mama and he's got his brother, so she didn't like that. Because she just ignores me. She's all Bobby. So when she says, oh, Bobby, come in her house and she's not enticing him in, I call BS on that straight away. Because Toby goes to Lee's house and goes in Lee's house. So why wouldn't he come in Angie's house? Because Lee has been enticing both Bobby and Toby into her house. Where with Angie, she's only been enticing Bobby in. So, anyway, I'm going to leave it there because this is so much to the link. I will have the link back up in the. I might input on my community page. So if anyone wants this link to this, it is redacted. I have retagged a lot of words, right? But hold on. But like I said, if you come across a word, hold on, let me get these words up. Oh God. Right. If you come across a word that is blank and it will be blanked out a lot more, just hover over that little red bit over the top and it'll tell you what the word is. The only reason I blank it out is because if I don't and I'm reading it on YouTube, I say the word. So if it's blanked out, I can't say the word. But I will pull it up. I'll go up and say what word is that. And I go, oh, the A word, or the SA, or DV, and things like that. Right? But if I don't have it blanked out and I see the word fully, then I say it. So, and it has got my own little notes in there as well. Like here, it's got footage of the police saying not to bother even when waking him. This made him feel more like a problem rather than it being the safeguarding. You know what I mean? The police turned up to this guy's house, the father's house, at 3 a.m. in the morning, and he's got footage of them saying, oh, don't bother waking him. When he called him out about his daughter being missing. And I've gone, what the hell? Do your job. And then there's something on about schools and whatever. And I've gone, so to solve the problem, just move it to another school where grooming gangs are operating. Yeah, bingo, you solved the problem. Just move it to another school where the grooming gangs are. One copper actually had a go at the father at one of these meetings. That copper was dismissed. Because the officers in attendance told Marlon, the father, to stop reporting his daughter missing. Marlon challenged this, which resulted in the police officer shouting at him in front of all in attendance. The officer has since been dismissed. And so he should be. Because you're talking to a father who's trying to protect his daughter. And you're doing feck all about it. Which is your job. It's his job as a father, but you've got more powers as in the police. You know what I mean? So Thank you, Michelle. If you want to, I will put this on the community page. So if you want to download it, open it and then download it, you can do. Okay? And as I said, just put your mouse over the words and the word will come up above it. But I've got to do a bit more work on it yet because there's words I've missed out and there's words that aren't fully blacked out. So I need to go through it a bit more. So anyway, so thank you for being here. Thank you for Michelle for being here and Kylie. I hope, Anne, if you get to watch this, I hope your husband's feeling better. And I will see you all tomorrow. So until then, stay safe, everyone. And thank you for being here.
No, I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words